So Linux has better quality than Windows, and it's in places that you would not expect. So for the past month, up until a day or two ago, I was running Microsoft Windows for about a month. And the reason I did this was so that I could do certain software development projects in a Windows environment. And I had specific reasons for doing so. But with the blue screens that I ran into, it made me reconsider that choice. And it all started with a Google Chrome update. So I updated Google Chrome, and after the update, Google Chrome showed me what's new. And it said there were updates to what's called reading mode. It could read the entire web page to you. So I said, okay, I have a few minutes. Let me try this out. The very first time I activated reading mode, it crashed. It crashed the computer. And I think it was because the reading mode function was tapped into my audio hardware on my laptop. And this is a laptop with an AMD Ryzen 7 processor with 8 cores and 32 gigabytes of RAM and a 2 terabyte NVMe SSD. So after the blue screen, the computer restarted, and I looked at the Google Chrome shortcut, and it wasn't looking normal. The actual icon was gone. So I had to reinstall Chrome, and once I did, I tested reading mode again, and everything was fine. So the next thing that I wanted to do was launch Visual Studio, because I had lost some time dealing with this blue screen. So when I launched Visual Studio, I ran into a very interesting situation, and my gut was telling me, you're about to get a blue screen. And sure enough, I did. And the reason I got the blue screen when launching Visual Studio, which has never ever happened to me before, is that I had downloaded an extension to Visual Studio, Avalonia templates. It came in the form of a VSIX file. So I was running this VSIX file, and it got to the very end. The progress bar got to the very end, and that caused a blue screen. So then I was like, okay, this is very weird. 2 blue screens in a row. So then I launched Visual Studio, and then a blue screen for Visual Studio. All right, so then after I got all of that sorted out, I then actually opened up my project that I had downloaded from GitHub, right? And apparently Visual Studio did not like the download. So it recorded all of my source code files as having \0s in an unreadable format. And I sat there scratching my head, said, nothing's changed since the last time I successfully ran this in Visual Studio. So I got all of that sorted out by deleting the project that I had downloaded, and then unzipping it or cloning it. I did one or the other. And this is the error message, by the way, that I got from the extension the first time. So to resolve the extension issue, I had to uninstall the extension and reinstall it, and I didn't have a problem the second time around. So it was very annoying, and this is why I go into my diatribe about Linux, because Linux doesn't do these things to you as a end user. You're not suddenly in the middle of working on a project or just using a computer in general, and it just all of a sudden crash on you. And it's like, okay, Microsoft has had 45 years to make Windows super stable. You think almost 50 years is enough to work out the engineering bugs in a piece of software. 50 years. So people are like, hey Michael, why did you originally switch to Linux back in 2009? This is the reason why. Microsoft at a fundamental level, that while they have some good software out there and some good programs that people like and people are addicted to, at a fundamental level, those of us that spent years trying to perfect our understanding of software development, we look at what Microsoft puts out and the end result, and we're like, we cannot aspire to that. We cannot aspire to software development that looks like that. Bloated, heavily boilerplate, and while it looks snazzy and beautiful on the outside and people will spend their money gladly for these Microsoft products, and even develop a religion around it of a type, that when you look at it from an engineer standpoint, it's like, this is not the future of technology. The future of technology is not a technology that has forever bugs on it, that crashes in such dramatic ways like this. And that's why the infrastructure of the internet and the cloud and the majority of gadgets out there are based on Linux, for this personal reason that I've shown here, that I've experienced. And so I didn't start out on open source. I did not start out saying this is about free software. I didn't start out. I grew into that philosophy, but it started out with the quality. And I could predict as a younger person, I could predict for myself intuitively and instinctively that this is a cultural issue at Microsoft that will never get solved. So I do look for jobs and employment where I use Microsoft technologies, but the reason why I don't use it for my own home computers and my own home projects is because I don't have the not so much patience, but I don't have the tolerance level for this type of low quality setup in a software environment, in a technology environment. So I was basically twiddling my thumbs the last 2 or 3 months waiting for Debian 13 to be released, and it finally came out. What I like about Debian 13 with GNOME is that it is clean, it is stable, and I can configure it any way that I want. So all the things that people say, well, you know, with Windows I got more control, you have even more control with Linux. I could run visual software, I could run not Microsoft Office, even though I could do that with Microsoft 365 in the web browser. So if I have Chrome or Brave or anything like that, I can run Microsoft 365 on Linux. But I like that I have all these tools available to me. It's quicker to install them, and installing them will not introduce system instability. I have a more stable system. I have a system that can run on an older computer. So what I noticed here was that these Linux systems, when I upgrade them, this is my own personal observation, they seem to get faster over time, even on the same hardware. So I don't even have to tweak it. With Windows, you have to download these utilities to tweak Windows, to clean up registries, to shut down background apps, to clean up temporary files, and do all these kinds of things. But I don't have to do that on Linux. I never have to do that. You can install BleachBit on Linux, and it will help clean some things up, but the cleaning is not really necessary. And I like customizing my backgrounds with every new Linux install, but Debian 13 actually brings a vast array of improvements to the Linux environment. So much of it is in the background. It is subtle, but I like what I see. And you can go to debian.org and you can download Debian and install it on your computer, and there's going to be a very high likelihood that Debian will recognize your computer. But of course, the best way to get a Linux operating system is to buy a Linux computer, or a computer with Linux already on it, through System 76 or Purism or Tuxedo Computers and others. I have videos about that, and this is just my update about Linux here in August, and I will see you later. Bye.